Welcome to another special edition of Leading Questions. I'm Megan Ma.
And I'm Kayla Theeuwen, and we're partners at WeirFoulds. We have another special student edition episode for all of you students who are participating in law firm recruitment this year. We know that virtual OCIs are currently underway or about to start, and in-firm interviews are coming up soon. So we wanted to give you some strategies for dealing with the interview process with the help of some of our current articling students.
And while our earlier episode focused on tips for in-firm call day, in this episode, we're going to provide you with some tips for post-OCI logistics and post-in-firm logistics. We're joined by two of our current articling students, Amir Sodagar and Kelin Algayer. Now, a quick disclaimer, the tips and strategies that you're about to hear are personal to all of us, and so there are no hard or fast rules, and of course, we can't guarantee any success or formulas in terms of the interview process, but these are just suggestions based on our own experience. So Amir and Kelin, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you guys. Amir, we're going to start with you. What is something that you wish that you knew about what to do after your interviews were done?
Yeah, so I think after you have an OCI or in-firm interview, you should probably immediately write down the names of your interviewers, just a short blurb of something you spoke about. So I guess I say this for two reasons. First, your interviewers may change, and this actually happened to me. So for instance, if you get an email from, I don't know, like firm XYZ that your OCI or in-firm interviewers are with John and Jane, you may realize that during your interview, one or both of your interviewers have been substituted. So writing down the names of your interviewers will be crucial so you know to whom you should send your thank you letters to. Don't rely on your memory, especially if you're doing quite a few OCIs or in-firms, to remember who your interviewers were, because you'll probably be speaking to dozens of people that day and everything will seem like a blurb. Second, you may want to draft, you're going to want to draft thank you emails that are personalized and not generic. So it will show interest to your interviewers and ultimately to the firm if you send them a personalized thank you letter. So at the end of the day, after you've met with, I don't know, dozens of individuals through the OCIs or in-firms, it may be difficult to remember what you spoke about with the person that was interviewing you and what you spoke about with somebody else that has interviewed you. So you might get things mixed up. So I would encourage you to take 5 minutes after your interviews to write down a short blurb of something that was interesting to you or something you learned about the firm or something you and your interviewers spoke about. Perhaps it could have been a hobby you both share, and use that to draft a personalized thank you email.
I have to say that being on the interviewer side now, I do always like receiving a more personalized email. I think I can probably make this general comment, at least for WeirFoulds and probably even for other firms. But one of the things that we are trying to gauge at the end of an interview is this student actually interested in the firm? Or, are we one of 20 firms that they're entertaining? And so if there's a way that you can start to convey your interest in the firm through your thank you email, it just starts to set you apart from other candidates. I have a quick follow-up question for you, Amir, and this is just going to be about your personal sort of preference, because I don't think there's a rule, but did you tend to send separate emails to interviewers who interviewed you together? Or if you were interviewed by two people, did you send one email to both of them?
I would send personalized emails to each interviewer. I thought it was a better strategy, and it kind of builds that relationship with your interviewer, and it becomes more personalized in that sense as well, rather than you sending just one email to both of them.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip. I don't think personally I ever knock a student for sending one email to two interviewers, but I do tend to agree with you that I think if you can get one to each interviewer, that might just allow you to connect a little bit better. So thanks for those tips, Amir.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And Kelin, what about you? Any tips for the actual interview process and post OCI and in-firm logistics?
Sure. After the interview, you might want to reach out to more people and clarify any questions you might have. I found it a good way to learn more about the firm and the summer program. I think it is worth mentioning that you don't need to reach out to people if you don't have a genuine question. But if you do, that's a great opportunity to connect more members of the firm, to obtain the information you need and also be better prepared for the firms. Also, I further researched the firm during this time. This is helpful because you get a better sense of what the firm does and what your interests are in case you are invited for the new firms. Finally, I think it is important to mention that between OCIs and call day, some firms might send you an intent to call communication. Not all the firms do that, but if you don't receive an intent to call, you might receive a call on call day. But if you do receive an intent to call and you are not interested in interviewing with that firm, make sure you let them know as soon as possible.
Those are some great points. And to jump off of your earlier point in terms of the follow-up and whether to contact people only if you have a genuine question. Obviously, you want to come off, you want to have a substantive question and you don't want to just email someone for the sake of emailing someone. But I think another good tip is to try to have a couple of names of lawyers who you would like to meet kind of handy in your back pocket, just in case you're asked to come back the next day for a follow-up interview and you're asked, if there's anyone in particular you want to meet with. It's always nice to have those names handy. And I think the big thing is just don't stress or read into the fact in terms of the emails that Amir was mentioning earlier. Don't stress if you don't get a response. Chances are your interviewer is probably in interviews with other people and maybe tied up during the day. So even if you don't get an immediate response, you don't get a response at all. I wouldn't read too much into that. So
Totally
thank
agree.
you both. Thank you both of you, Amir and Kelin. We hope these tips are helpful for those of you who are currently going through the interview process with your upcoming interviews.
And for those who have tuned in to watch this, thank you for joining us. Be sure to check out our next episode in the series where we talk about some strategies for being a successful summer student once you've landed the job. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to address in future episodes, feel free to email us at leadingquestions@WeirFoulds.com. All the best to you who are taking part in the interview process, and see you next time.